I think I spent an eternity in the city. I think I spent an eternity in the city. You know, I can't remember when I first heard Hall & Oates, but it's probably when everyone else did. When She's Gone became a hit in 1974. That song scared the bejesus out of me. Who does that to a 4-year-old? You know, I knew it was a lost love song, but it had this really weird 5-key modulation thing at the end that I didn't understand. It was like the B 11th chord, and then the C 11th chord, and then that D flat chord, and these guys. No. All the lights were on in my house. You know, it was a big hit in Philadelphia, but it didn't break nationally right away. Boston's own Tavares, they covered that song and they had a #1 hit with it, and they did away with that creepy modulation part. But, you know, a few years later, after Sarah's Smile, it got re-released, and then the country caught on, and She's Gone, modulation and all. It went top 10. You know, the cover of that 1975 self-titled record with Sarah's Smile, that what they call the Silver Album, that taught me something about Hall & Oates, which is that those two guys make good-looking women. You know, they also make good-looking songs. And, you know, from the start, Hall & Oates, both proud Philly boys. Philly! You know, they combine rock and folk and soul and pop into something that was new because it had many smart pieces of what was old. And, you know, I don't need to list the hits. We know them all. Sarah, smile. You know, I already mentioned those. I don't have to, you know, say it isn't so, I can't go for that. No, one no more, I wanna play that game tonight. I mean, they single-handedly reinvented the black Carlton dance for black people in the hood, you know. She's a man-eater. You make my dreams come true, out of touch. M-A-T-H-O. I don't have to list the hits. You know, if you owned a radio in the late 70s and the 80s, or you knew anyone who did, you got a full dose of Hall & Oates. I mean, Hall & Oates will cure any known ailment. H2O can heal you. There's not a person in here who didn't sing along to the songs when they came on the radio, local FM station, or even later on with MTV. There's not a person here who didn't get Rockin' Soul Part 1. Yes, I'm still patiently waiting for Part 2. Now, I'm gonna take a minute, take a time out here to list all of the duos, you know, in the rock era who were more popular than Hall & Oates. Okay, I'm done. That's how many were more popular. 0. When you become that huge, you know, you're bound to have some detractors. You know, people joke that the act was somehow imbalanced. You know, they made jokes. Those were cruel and ignorant people. Superficial people. Philistines. Sure, Daryl had the long flowing hair and blue-eyed soul vocals that were rivaled only by maybe Todd Rundgren. But, you know, John Oates, give it up for John Oates, man. He sang wonderfully, too. John Oates played the hell out of his guitar. John Oates co-wrote most of the songs that I sang earlier. I mean, not to mention going on to a second career producing the Howard Stern Show. Baba Booey. What's up, Gary? I told you. You know, pop stars are one thing, but pop stars who stay true to their soul roots, that's another thing. And Hall & Oates stayed true. They collaborated with David Ruffin and Eddie Kendrick in 1985, first at Philly's Live Aid, then at the Apollo Theater, sparking a revival and the interest in the Temptations and classic Motown. And because what goes around comes around, their music became prized amongst hip-hop artists such as the Wu-Tang Clan, Jay Dilla, De La Soul. They cross all the boundaries because that is what great music does, ladies and gentlemen. You know, in the 90s and 2000s, while other acts have vainly tried to hold on to their past, Hall & Oates have persisted gracefully. And you know, because underneath it all, they are songwriters and song singers. Pop star is a thing that streaks across the sky, you know, an artist, that's a thing that stays there. And John continues to write and record with Daryl and a variety of other artists. And Daryl, of course, hosts Live from Daryl's House, a show that shows the breadth of his interests. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in being a proud child of Philadelphia, a child of the 70s, a child of the 80s, a child of soul, a child of recognizable hairstyles, a child of mustaches. Join me for one glorious night in making the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the Hall & Oates of Fame, ladies and gentlemen. I proudly present to you Daryl Hall and John Oates.